Serious content warning on this one. There's some really depraved shit going on. As they say, viewer excretion is advised.
It was a fine spring morning at Downton Abbey. The Earl was strolling casually in the field, as he often did with his beloved retrievers. He knew his mother, the Dowager Countess, was due for a visit to the Abbey that day, and this occupied his mind. Lately, not much at the estate had been to the Countess's liking. She seemed to find fault with every aspect of the way the household was run, and he was often on the wrong end of her temper. Hoping to find something to distract himself from his worry, he cast his eyes over the green fields and noted the solitary approaching figure of Lady Rose McClare, who had come to Downton for the weekend to visit his daughter Edith. He had been unable to get a handle on Lady Rose. She seemed very friendly, but in a way he found strangely disarming. All the greater then was his astonishment when he realized she was walking directly towards him.
"Lord Grantham!"
she cried, waving to him. "Lady Rose," he acknowledged, uncertain of how to respond. "What may I do for you that brings you all the way out here?"
"I wish to speak with you, Lord Grantham. I have been hoping to catch you alone this entire visit."
For what purpose, Lady Rose? Lord Grantham was having a difficult time keeping the annoyance from his voice until he caught the mischievous gleam in the young woman's eye. Was this?
"You have fascinated me from the moment we met,"
said Lady Rose, laying a gentle hand upon Lord Grantham's shoulder.
"Perhaps it is the natural allure of an older and more powerful gentleman, but I feel you and I have much to discuss."
In an instant, Lady Rose's entire demeanor over the course of the visit was made clear, and Lord Grantham was not opposed to this manner of liaison with so young and tender a thing. Not since the incident of Jane Morsum had his loins been so aroused, and he allowed his eyes to wander freely over Lady Rose's taut young body. He put a hand around her waist and drew her to him, and the young lady eagerly reciprocated the gesture, gripping him by the Elsewhere on the estate, Thomas Barrow was preparing for the Dowager Countess's visit, making sure the finest chinaware was properly polished, etc., when he realized he had not been informed what wine his lordship had requested be served. Normally this would be Carson's responsibility, but the aged butler was feeling unwell today, and the responsibility had fallen onto Barrow. This was something outside of Barrow's knowledge, and he quickly realized he would need to confer with the other staff on what wine to open, since it would likely need to be decanted for some time prior to the Countess's arrival. Mr. Bates, being his lordship's manservant, was the obvious person to consult, but Barrow had not seen Bates yet that morning. Uncertain what else to do, Barrow descended into the servants' quarters, finding Bates' door. Before he could knock, however, the door, already ajar, though just barely, swung further open, revealing Mr. Bates still in bed and in the act of living up to his surname. Bates did not seem to notice the door had opened, and Barrow, fascinated, continued to stare at the valet's self-ministrations and his prodigious endowment. Barrow licked his lips, feeling his own arousal mount. Suddenly, Bates looked up in shock and embarrassment at Barrow's presence. Nothing else for it, Barrow decided to take the initiative. "I could have you sacked for this." Bates' eyes widened. "Or," continued the footman, loosening his top shirt button, "I could have your sack for this." Bates licked his lips and beckoned. "Then get in here, big boy." Barrow strode forward, rapidly shedding his garments until the fuss and noise of preparation was getting to Lady Edith, and she desperately needed a place to be alone. She had been so lonely since Sir Anthony had left her, and found comfort only in her own touch. Like Bates, she had been hoping for a moment to attend to these needs, but found no such refuge within the walls of the house. It occurred to Lady Edith that the stables would likely be relatively quiet, and might be just the solution to her problem. It was not difficult to slip away from the bustle of the staff or the eyes of her mother and Lady Sybil. She had not seen Lady Mary this morning, and sneak out the door of the house. She made her way to the stable, knowing just the quiet corner where she might have a moment to herself. Almost as quickly as she shut the door of the building, she was shedding clothes and moving to that corner, unaware that she had caught the attention of Dragon, the cart horse. Dragon watched in fascination as the human did something he had never seen before. Nervously, he gave a snort, and Lady Edith looked up, seeing the look on the horse's face. She moved to comfort him, and Lady Mary shoveled the last of the dirt off the grave, grateful that she had remembered its location, unmarked as it was, and shameful as the circumstances of its digging in the first place had been. Mr. Pamuk had been dead for some time, and was thoroughly juicy by now, but not entirely decomposed. This would do splendidly. She pulled the cadaver out of its grave, and despite feeling somewhat under the weather, Carson had rallied to the point where he was able to dress and perform his ceremonial duties, so it was he who opened the door to the Dowager Countess when she arrived. As she stepped into the house, however, the Countess was stunned by the scene of wild debauchery before her. The walls were splattered with blood, cum, wound fluid, apple juice, vodka, and other less savory substances. And various members of the household and staff were locked in a carnal scene of sex, cannibalism, and chaos that defied description. "Carson!" she cried, almost in a faint. "What is going on in this house? What do you call this?" Carson sighed. "I believe, Mum," he said, "that they call it the Aristocrats!" If you enjoyed video of this, please like button, subscribe, cool Patreon amazings.